So, we will proceed now to the lesson. So, yesterday we were able to talk about the organs. I no the passage of your food, no, from it being a bolus from the mouth being chewed by your teeth. So na ay mastication na during that time. So there's the partial digestion na during that time, and then in your saliva we in your saliva there's this thing called amylase or salivary amylase, which is basically an enzyme that breaks down starches, no? And so sa kuan pa lang, sa mouth pa lang naanay digestion daan or naanay partial digestion, so that makatabang na siya for the rest of the passage. So when you swallow that food, this food will be brought into the esophagus and into the stomach through peristalsis, the wave-like movement by your smooth muscles, no? So nang if ever you lie down or you're upside down, dili do na siya mo dili na siya mo balik sa imong dili na nimo na diretso sukahon because it's being aided by peristalsis. So during that time, the food that you have chewed already is now called a bolus, no? Bolus na din na siya. When it reaches into your stomach through the gastroesophageal sphincter or your lower esophageal sphincter, it will get into your stomach. It gets mixed with your hydrochloric acid, and then it gets digested, basically. So, hinahinay siya digest. And when it gets into the duodenum, your accessory organs, your pancreas and your bile, will secrete enzymes and bile salts respectively, so into the duodenum. So pag sa duodenum, naanay absorption of na breakdown and also absorption of the nutrients that come from your food. So for example, in your pancreas will secrete these hormones, these enzymes that are responsible for breaking down proteins into amino acids, carbohydrates into glucose, and fats into fatty acids. And then your duodenum will be the one that will be absorbing all of this. But not only the duodenum, it will also be done by the rest of the segments of the small intestines. And these these nutrients will then be transferred to the bloodstream. It will be in the bloodstream, and the blood will be the one to transport these nutrients into the cells. Inana siya. And of course, there are hormones that are responsible that in the transportation of that, but that will be under the endocrine system na dayon. So we'll not talk about the hormones anymore. But I don't think we will talk about the hormones because kuan magud siya kanang di siya masigo sa tong lesson, no, sa tong lecture series. So, after that, when nutrients are absorbed through the small intestine, so it goes through like a very long journey, then gawain pa jud siya, that allows for your small intestines to absorb as much nutrients as possible, just in case bitaw di masad pwede nga kung short na ang small intestines, dali ra kay ang absorption dabi kung nasalay ma-miss, right? So that's the reason why, morphology wise, inana ang shape sa imong small intestines, and then goes to large, and then this the bulk of it will go into the large intestine where water will be reabsorbed, and whatever comes out of it na dili ma-digest, that will be your feces or your tae. Ayan. So when the rectum contracts, the feces is expelled through an opening called uranus. Planets in the solar system. One of them is Uranus. I'm just kidding. Okay, so this process is called digestion or defecation. It is the process of removing the undigested matter from the body. And so what's in the feces? Unsay nasa tae? So you can find dead bacteria, but there's of course a normal range of bacteria. So you can see that in this lab procedure, kanang fecalysis, kana siya. So there's like a normal amount of bacteria. It should be normal. Some fat and protein molecules, undigested food roughage. Notice mo ana kung masubraan na mo kaon og fiber, you will also poop fiber ana. Or kana masubraan mo og kaon og kapayas, oh, your poop will smell like papaya. Ana, dried out digested juices, mucus, uh, discarded intestinal cells, and they are all stored temporarily in the rectification mo. Nang night times na kalibangon ka, pero wala pa'y super urge, no? You don't have like the kaya pa man ni kalibangon ko pero kaya pa. But there are also times when, oh my God, where I need to poop na jud. Kay daghan na kaayo naka-stock up dito. Pwede na siya. Or could be that daghan na kaayo fluids with your feces. Pwede sa na siya, no? Or your sphincter is being kuan na jud. It's being urged na. It's being stimulated already. So there are a couple of reasons for that. Have you ever had like have you ever had like incidents where kanang feeling ninyo kay maka-poop na jud mo sa inyong pants? Na naka-experience mo ana na kanang murag feeling na ko bay maka-poop na jud ko sa akong pants murag what ano ko choice. Have you ever had that feeling? Wala, no comment lagi mo tanan. Ah. Wala pa mo naka-feel og ginana na murag maka-race na mo paingon sa balay? Have you ever had that? Ano grabe yung katawa, adik. Hoy, Nilo, are you aware that your camera is on? Oh. I've had an experience. Share na ko sa inyo para dili ninyo ni makuan, ma-experience. I went to Siargao with friends. Teachers sa gyapon. I don't know if you know them. Si Ma'am Arian, siya ba inyong DRRR? Si Ma'am Saging. And then normal naman na Kasi yung DRRR, si Ma'am Ivy or si Ma'am Arian?
Ma'am Ivy, ma'am.
Earthside ninyo si Ma'am Arian. Oh, okay. Si Ma'am Ivy in DRR. So, kaya mo ni Ma'am Arian. So, we went to Siargao like, when was that? 2018, I believe. That was a long time ago. And then, on our last night, we were sick. I mean, I was not sick, but they were. Akong mga kauban. And then they were sick because they ate a lot of siomai na kanabitong dagan kay sauce, kanabitong oily kay nga sauce. So they got a little bit sick. But then we had dinner, so we ate a lot sa dinner. And then we had to wake up really early pagka morning because we were coming home to Cagayan, no? So um it was like 4 a.m. And then pag-abot na mo og Surigao, my tummy was not acting great. Ano na siya. So, I was able to poop in Surigao. So, naka-poop kog daghan. Like, kana bitong watery poop. So, I was like, oh my God, what is happening? And then, we traveled from Butuan. No, sorry, from Surigao to Butuan. Was that Surigao to Butuan? Yeah, Surigao to Butuan. Then, pagka Butuan, naglain na sa akong tiyan. So, and I didn't want to come down sa kuan. I didn't want to go down sa bus. So nag-antos jud ko from Butuan to Cagayan de Oro. Like kana ga-hold on jud ko sa chair like, oh my God, help me Lord. Because I thought I was gonna poop my pants. I really thought na basig na headline pagkaugma nga teacher gikan sa usa ka pribado nga eskwelahan sa Cagayan de Oro nakalibang sa taxi, nakalibang sa bus ana. Oh, I was so afraid. But then, pasalamat jud ko no. Ang ako mga kauban ka amin nalag nasuko ko because wala na ko wala na ko nagtingog sa bus. Amin lang nasuko ko, wala ko nasuko. Ga-focus lang jud ko nga dili ko makapoop ito. So when we arrived here at Cagayan de Oro pag abot jud sa kuan sa bus, grabe akong dagan-dagan. When I went to the public CR grabe ito sa Agora. My God, taas linya. So, ano ko, muli na lang din ko. Sakay kong taxi. Yeah. Gitextan ako kung mother daan nga, ma, kindly open the gate, please. Kaya wala na ko strength magkuha og yabi sa kong bag. So, yeah. When I arrived, grabe, push, sirit-sirit, paingon sa CR. Prayer lang, tinuoy, grabe na kong ampo ato do. So, if you ever like have experiences like that or in the future, sus ampo lang jud. Mora jud na atong mabuhat. Yeah. So that was a pooping tragedy. Pero in Ana, that also happened to me when I remember I went to Davao na kanang grabe din akong pooping. Like even at the mall, like murag tanan CR akong nakuan. akong na akong na virginan dito. So, yeah. So, I think it has something to do with like the location. Ganun bitong bag-o nga water. And I'm not saying na sensitive kaya kung tiyan sa water. It's just that maybe the environment, I don't know. I don't know. So there are two sphincters that regulate the exit of feces. You have your involuntary sphincter and your outer voluntary sphincter. So kani mong inner involuntary sphincter, kuan na siya no kanang sa ngalan na involuntary, you cannot really control the opening and the closing of this. So mo na siyang feeling kana bitong once ma-stimulate na gali ni inner involuntary sphincter, mo na day nang feeling na kalibangon kay ka. Ana kalibangon kay ko. Yeah, I need to poop. Inana bitaw. But kining outer voluntary sphincter, mauna ni siya imong makontrol. Mao ni siya nga kalibangon ko, yes, pero wala pa ko CR, so ako sa siyang iana. Oh, so that is your outer voluntary sphincter. So this is controlled by the brain, which permits one to have a conscious decision to delay defecation. So pwede ka makabuot when ka magpoop. Ana. So let's go to the nutritional requirements of animals. So, question, kindly answer this in the chat box. Huh? What are the 6 essential types of nutrients our body needs to get from the diet in order to function properly? What do you think? Okay na kayo mag-guess mo, walay problema. Uy, sige na. Unsa mga nutrients atong kailangan? No? Atong body. What does our body need? Ala, kung mag-open po Messenger, makita ninyo. Ala, makita ninyo kadyot, no? That's so weird. Water, yes. Okay. You have water. Okay, what else? I took the top of my Maybach. Carbs, correct. So we have carbohydrates. I know one thing like minerals. Yes. Mm. Vitamins, good. What else? Grabe si Roldan. Gikuha man dyan yung tanan. Proteins, good. And lipids. Okay, correct. So all of these stuff, kining macromolecules, you have your carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. These three. These are what you call as your macromolecules. This is what we essentially get from the food. Muna siya ang katong sugars, fats, and proteins. No? And then, of course, you have your water. Dili ito pwede mabuhi without water. We need water. We easily, mas dali ta mamatay with dehydration than uh, sa tawag siya, mas dali ta mamatay with dehydration than kanang delayed intake of food. Ano siya, mas dali. So, importante jud ang hydration jud. So, water, very, very important ang water. Even in, what do you call that, in uh, dengue, kanang kung denguehan mo, hydration ra jud is the key to success. Mo na siya. Mo baba imong platelet but it can be saved with hydration. And then, of course, you have your minerals and vitamins, no? Minerals and vitamins. Vitamins, ang minerals nimo like, pinaka-importante inyong sodium and potassium. Very important yun kina sila. Why? Because this actually creates your gradient, no? Your electrolyte gradient sa imuhang body. Without sodium and potassium, walay mga electric signals ng mga hitabo sa imong lawas, dili mag-function og tarong imuhang neurons. There was also, I had a student before, like 2 school years ago, nga nanawag siya kalit ano siya nga, "Ma'am, I cannot come to school." Ako nga, "Naman." Ano siya nga, "Ma'am, kanang dili ko kalakaw, di ko katindog." I was like, "Oh," I was like, "What? Nausa man ka?" Ana then she went gidala siya sa hospital to discover nga low di kay iyang potassium, like very very low. We call that hypokalemia. So low kay ang potassium, walay ka ng ga-fire nga electrical impulses towards her legs. No, ang legs ang una niya naapektuhan. So ang muscles niya wala nag function og tarong mo nang dili siya kabakod. So if wala to siya nadala diretso sa hospital or wala siya nag potassium replacement insigida, it could be very dangerous. It could lead to a heart attack, and that will possibly kill the student. Grabe kahadlok ato, no? So, be sure that you're kanang kung maka-feel bitaw mo nga, sige like kog cramps. Sige kog cramps and then sige kog kanang murag feeling na ko kay ano kanang hawi akong muscles feel me. That is a sign of electrolyte depletion or kanang nakulangan mong electrolyte. So, drink Gatorade, drink Pocari Sweat. Pocari Sweat. Kailan mo Pocari Sweat o kana inom day mo Pocari Sweat diretso. Kana siya. Is it normal nga gabalik-balik siya, ma'am? Ang unsa na? Ang cramps, ang muscle cramps, there shouldn't be muscle cramps. Like for example, even if athletes bitaw mo, the way that you warm up and the way that you cool down during your workout, it will deter you from having muscle cramps. So if magka-muscle cramps kay mo, nanay something wrong. So it's either in your exercise routine or sa inyong mineral intake. So I would suggest Pocari Sweat. O, dili ka lakaw. Huy, Diyos ko Lord, balik na siya. There could be another reason why, ha? Especially if magbalik-balik, there could be another reason why. Yeah, so you have to kind of make sure that you are dili mo magpulang sa minerals, no? Importante gyapon na siya. And you what other minerals do you have? You have calcium, no, very important for your bones, and this is also important for your blood pressure sa kining calcium. You have your magnesium, daghan pa kayo minerals. You have your manganese, kana sila, etc., etc. So you have your minerals. So importante kina sa your fluoride, chuchu. They are essential for a lot of the processes in our body. So importante na siya. Vitamins. So you have a lot of vitamins. You have your fat soluble vitamins. Your ang fat soluble would be your ADEC, no? Isa kang ADEC. Kaning ADEK, and then you have your water soluble katong BC ninyo. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Just kidding. Oh, kanang BC ninyo is water soluble. Okay, so ha. And then your ADEC will be fat soluble. Na. So, kana sila. And then, kani pa dyan yung B, there are many branches to the B, no? Na kay B1, B2, B6, B, B3. B6, B12, marami. Riboflavin, ana. So, daghan siya og Chirvalu. So, yes, all of these are important for your body. That is why we drink water. That is why we eat food. No? And that is why we also exercise to regulate all of these. All right. So, we've already talked about that. So, you know this already? Matod pa ni Mimiya, drink your water, bish. Ano siya. So water is a natural solvent. It is ubiquitous. It's everywhere, no? It's very essential. It's found in our cells and also in our blood. And also for the rest of our body. Oh, so naana siya all around. So it has a lot of functions, no? So it helps us digest our food. Mo nang sometimes nga nag-constipate lagi ko, ma'am. Ano, labi na ka ng mga pasyente na ako sa una. Mamoy ka ng pila naman ko adlaw wala ka kalibang mamoy. Hura ha? Pila na ka adlaw. Okay. And then just drink water. Have you drunk your water? So ginagmay naman ko kay inom og water, ma'am, kay di jud ko ting inom og water or I'm not used to drinking a lot of water, inaanak ko na daw ang pasyente. You should. That should be a habit. Always drink water because it helps you with your digestion, and it basically cures you of your constipation. Unless if there's like another reason for that, maybe. It regulates body temperature. That is why if you feel very hot, you drink a lot of water. Yeah. It maintains blood pH and volume. Sorry, kanang wala ni letter N, and volume na siya. So if you drink more waters, your blood volume will increase, and if you don't drink a lot of water, your blood volume will decrease. Na na siya. And then your pH as well of your blood, so it needs to be neutral. So and it keeps the skin and internal respiratory surfaces moist. That is why kung kuan gali sipunon mo, drink lots of water, no? If you are having a cold. So kay daghan man moisture na gagawas, and if you notice, if you're going to dry it all delete dry it all out, but if you're going to get rid of the mucus, dry kay na imuhang lining sa imong nose. Yeah, I once had like there was one time na I ka ng Christmas party sa Liceo. That was years ago. I forgot. I think 2018 gyapon ni siya, or 19. No, this is 18. This is not 2019. 2018 we had our Christmas party in this place, in this fancy place. And gipakanta bitaw mi sa stage. So I was one of the performers, and then kanang nag-smoke machine bitaw sila. Kanang kusog kay nga smoke ang nigawas. So we were on stage na inhale na mo tanan, and then ambi na mo ma-pass out mo mi dadto because smoke machine it's basically made of water vapor naman na siya. So maraming nawad ano oxygen kadyot. And then the day after, I had like severe allergies. Like grabe akong allergy atong smoke machine. And then dry din kayo after sa allergies, dry din kayo ang akong mucus, ang ako ang insides of my nose. And then nagsungguha din yun ko kay dry na kay ang skin. So you have to drink a lot of water, have to maintain the moisture of your mucous membranes. Now let's go to carbs. Do you love carbs? I love carbs. Do you like bread? Do you like rice? Oh. So kung ganun mo ana, you are a carbatarian. Matud pa ni little kid. Carbatarian. Bread is good. Ana. So carbohydrates basically are kana module na siya inyong primary source of energy, no, because they are made of sugars. So they can be divided in simple sugars found in fruits or complex sugars such as your starches. So plants also contain the carbohydrate cellulose. And cellulose is very hydrophilic. Ganahan kaya siya mag-attract of water. So yeah, that is your carbs. And then you have your proteins. These are macromolecules essential for the growth of new protoplasm and repair of worn out body cells and tissues. That is why if you know somebody that had like considerable tissue injury, like kanang gikan siya nagka-burns, second degree, third degree burns, it is very important that they eat a lot of protein rich foods. And that is also why it is recommended nga mag-eat na sila og kanang egg whites kana sila, because the egg white is very rich in albumin, no? So the albumin is this albumin is a kind of protein that is found in your blood that enables your, or kanang ang kining albumin iyahang i-make sure nga ang fluid na naa sa imong blood mo stay ra jud na dira sa imong blood, o dili na siya mugawas sa imong blood vessel mo seep into your tissues. So yeah, that is very important. If you know somebody that has burns, kanang simba ko palayo, nasunugan sa balay, and then they incurred like really extensive burns, ipakaon sila og egg whites. Importante jud kina siya. So they're also used in the synthesis of hormones, enzymes, and antibodies for protein, and are composed of complex building blocks known as amino acids. So actually, kana imong proteins, no, it is found in everything, Jude. In DNA, in our cells, everywhere sa atong lawas. Importante jud kay ng protein. So make sure that you have a steady diet na ay daghan protein. So only 12 out of 20 amino acids can be made by the body. So the rest of it you have to ingest it from other animals. So the remaining 8 must be outsourced. Now let's go to fats. Fats are basically same like sa carbohydrates. They are basically like chains of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Ang imong proteins kay chain ni siya of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Kana siya. Kining nitrogen, di nato ni kailangan sa lawas, no? Dili kini siya needed sa lawas. So mo nang sometimes kining nitrogen, this will bind with your hydrogen na naa sa imong lawas, mahimo ni siyang ammonia, no? And ammonia is toxic. Ano siya. So ammonia will then be converted into urea. So kining ammonia will be converted into urea by your liver. Para kining urea, this is a less toxic version of your ammonia, which will then be eliminated through the urine, through our urine. So, mauna inyong protein. Ang inyong fats, it's a chain of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Same with your carbohydrates, but it's more complex. So naadin kay saturated and unsaturated fats. If you're going to look at your kanabitong ginakaon ninyo nga na packets, if you're going to look at the nutrition facts, you will see the saturated and the unsaturated fats. So, ato ta diri. Okay. So you have these examples of fats no na kay oil, butter, um, oil, butter, muna na kumuno na animal fat, kana sila. So these are sources of fat. And you know that um kini siya nga kuan kini siya nga pagkaon kay rich in fat ni siya kay lami kaayo. Diba? Have you tried liempo? Grabe sa mo kaog liempo. Liempo ang tarap-tarap, lechon, tarap-tarap, cake, tarap-tarap. Kana sila. So saturated fats are found in butter and are solid in room temperature and found in animal products. And unsaturated fats are found in plant oils and are liquid at room temperatures. Kana sila. So that is basically the difference between the characteristics of saturated and unsaturated fats. Then we have your minerals. So, minerals are inorganic materials needed by the body to maintain homeostasis. One of the examples would be your calcium. This is very important in your bones, your blood pressure, nerve transmission, blood clotting, a lot of things, really. So, but it is important that we don't ingest like a lot of them. Like, on lang trace elements naman gud sila, no? So, these are just needed in small amounts. So other examples are your iodine, manganese, and zinc. Oh, kining iodine and zinc, kining iodine very important for our metabolism and the regulation of our thyroids. Oh, very important. Zinc is very important for like for example if you are a woman who is pregnant, uh, very important ng zinc for the development of the brain of the baby. Na siya. Very important na siya. And folate as well. Folate. And then we have your vitamins. As I said ganina, we have your fat-soluble vitamins and your water-soluble vitamins. The fat-soluble vitamins, like your ADEC, they are because they are fat-soluble, they are stored in the body for future use. No? Pwede ni mo na siya maka-store kasi mong body, dili na siya diretso ma-eliminate. Whereas imong water soluble na vitamins like your vitamin C and B, they are later on excreted through the urine and the feces. So dili jud ka magka overdose og vitamin B ug C. Never. Like kanang nakaduma ko ginana nga ay na overdose og vitamin C. Huh? Ako jud kay you don't get OD'd by vitamin C. You don't get overdoses from vitamin C and B because they get ang imong body maka-reach na siya inani ka amount of vitamin C and then eliminate na din ang uban. Wala na din ang uban. Wala na siya. But for the addict, sometimes you get overdosed. Yeah, sometimes. Oh, so just a little bit be careful. Pero Pero even though if ma-overdose ka, dili man kayo inana ka-dire ang effects. Dili man kayo. It's just sometimes magkuan lang ka, sometimes makasuka lang ka, sometimes or magsakit yung tiyan gamay, ana lang. But not really, alarming overdose effects. So, ang conclusion na jud ani is a balanced diet contains the right amounts of carbs, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, and water to supply the body with energy and materials for its activities. Mao ra jud na siya, no? So, sabayan natin ng koan. Of course, sabayan natin ng exercise. But of course, it varies from person to person depending on health conditions. Basig naan na mo yung mga comorbidities, lifestyle, activities, sex, and age. For naamantay, depende sa ato ang sex, no? It's either female or male. Sometimes we are predisposed to different diseases. And of course, age. The younger you are and the older you are, the more susceptible you are to various diseases and predisposed ka sa mga various diseases. So, yeah, that's it. That is the lesson here. Ayan. So that is the end for the digestive system. Are there any questions? Sa ato excretory system, ako lang i-discuss ang urinary system. Okay. Ang excretory, it consists of your respiratory, your urinary and your urinary system. Actually, naapa joy uban, no, but we will just focus on the urinary system for now. Okay? Connected ba ni siya sa digestive system, di ba? Sometimes, di ba, kung makapoop ta kay makaihisad ta. Sometimes kung makaihisad ta kay kuan makapoop sad ta. Matod pa sa usa ka poem na akong nabasa sa usa ka CR sa usa ka universidad dinhi sa Cagayan de Oro. Uh, Here I sit, disappointed. Tried to shit, but only farted. And I thank you. Okay, so let's go to the excretory system. The excretory system basically removes and helps maintain homeostasis. So important na siya, no? That's the reason why we poop and we pee. It's to maintain homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis basically is kanang balance within our body. Karon pa sila nangatawa. Ay, medyo delayed nila kong audio sa inyo. Grabe na ko katawa na when I was in college. And I read that in one of the CRs of my alma mater, no. Dito sa kanang kuan pa jud siya nga CR, kanang dili kayo siya gina-frequent og people, but it's like it's like a liblib kind of CR. Then paglingkod jud ako kay gibasa jud ako ang naa sa door. And I just gabi akong katawa dyan sa CR. Samo kayo ni mga clever kay ng mga kuan classmates nato, no? Or kay ng mga schoolmates nato nga talented kayo sa pagpatawa. So that was the poem that I will never ever forget. Di dyan ako siya ma-forget ever. Because when I started working sa Liceo dayon, wala ko kita ginana nga poem. Puro ra mga libak ang naa silang CR. So yeah. I hope when you go back to face classes in college, I hope you get to discover those things in your campus, no? Kana mga funny na mga things bitaw, yes. Ano siya. Anyways, let's continue. So, the excretory system removes waste and helps maintain homeostasis. Again, homeostasis is internal balance sa atong lawas. So, balanse ang ato ang pH, balanse ato ang internal temperature and external temperature, balanse ang ato ang solutes, ang ato ang tanan, blood pressure, pulse rate, tanan, that's homeostasis. So in order for cells to stay alive, they must continually intake water and other molecules, and the cells would continue to get bigger and bigger if they only took in molecules. So dapat naasay a little bit of fluid na gawas, no? Approximately, when I was in the medical field, I'm still in the medical field, but when I was like solely in the medical field, per hour, ang kidneys are able to produce 30 ml of urine per hour. But it doesn't mean nga 30 ml sad per hour ato ipi. no? We don't pee every hour. Nakakaano mo, nakatry naman na every hour mo nakahi. Wala man sa tingali, no? But yeah, our kidneys are able to produce about 30 ml of urine per hour, and then ato din na siyang excrete. We could excrete it voluntarily, but of course, nasa times nga di ato ma-hold, no? Nakatry na sad mo ana nga kahiyon na kay mo rag abi ninyong makahi na mo sa kuan sa inyong pants. I also had that moment when I was a child. Pero when I was a child, I was like, ang embarrassing thing about that was I was a child, yes, but I was already like school age na child, like 10 years old. Like you were aware of being ashamed of yourself. Kaihiyon na kay ko, and then I was like, ma, kayo na jud kay ko, ma, anak ko. And this was in VIP bake shop. Kayo mo na, di, VIP hotel dra sa Velez. Then, di ba na yung VIP bake shop na yun dra sa may ano, sa JR Borja nga street. So, I was 10, just imagine me 10 years old, something like that. And then, ma, kayo na kay ko. Ano siya nga, wala na may CR dire. Ah, ano ko na, I don't know. I don't know. Kayo na din cake ko. Ano din ko mga, sige, pangi dun ha. And I peed my pants. I peed my pants at 10 years old. So can you just imagine the shame of it? So, hopefully, wala mo naka-encounter ginana nga koan experience in yung lives. Okay. They must kajut lang ga ha. Kajut lang everybody ha. I'll be back. Kajut lang. I'm so sorry. Somebody called. Nakuratan ko. Okay. So, uh, let's continue. So, this is your urinary system, no? You have your, let me get my pen. You have your, of course, you have your kidneys. On top of your kidneys would be your adrenal glands. Kini adrenal glands, this is responsible for releasing your epinephrine or your what you call as adrenaline, that hormone. Mo na siyang responsible sa kada bitong fight and flight fight or flight response nimo, like kanang if you are in a crisis, like kana bitong pak na iro o na paglangyan na mo napak na iro unsa kong buhaton, ako siyang sumbagon or mudagan ko inana. So that is the gland that is responsible for that. So it's not part of the urinary what do you call this, urinary system. So you have your two bean shaped kidneys. You can actually feel them in your hawak, kana siya likod, hawak ninyo, dapita kana siya. So kung magsakit yung hawak kana bitong ache, like sakit jud kayo, like ache, there must be something wrong with your kidneys. You might have like kidney stones or unsa ba, inflammatory disease, depends. So that is your kidney, and then your kidneys are naatay renal artery, and then naatay renal vein, no? So this is your renal vein, and then this one will be your renal artery. And then, inside the kidneys, I'll show you the inside of the kidneys later. You have your cortex and your medulla. Then ha. And then, of course, when urine is produced here, dili ka-produce ang urine through the filtration of blood, no? So mao man na ang ginabuhat ni kidneys, ga-filter sila og dugo. Kay ang dugo man ang gadala sa solutes. Ang dugo ang gadala sa mga waste products, no? So mga toxins, mga whatever, like your urea, then siya. So mo ana ang dugo, and then adto din yung siya sa kidneys, i-filter ni kidneys ang dugo. Mura bitog ka ng manglim. Dahil diba kung manglimpyo kag refrigerator, you're not just going to isa ka nimo gamay ang jar sa peanut butter din yung limpyo ni balik. Di ba dili tayo na manglimpyo? Di ba kung malimpyo tag refrigerator, we take out all of the stuff from the refrigerator and then we clean it up. So inana ang kidneys. So it's going to take out all of the stuff from the blood, and then iyang pilion tong iyang i-discard, then iya tong i-maintain or iyang ibalik tong kailangan nga kailangan sa blood. So inana siya no. So medyo taas-taas jud ang process na ginabuhat ni kidneys. But all in all, it works a lot. Siya ang pinaka-hard worker. Actually, hardworking man tanan na to organs, but siya jud ang pinaka-pressured into doing it. Oh, so kay nakasalalay sa iya, daghan kay nakasalalay sa iya nga kuan trabaho. Kay um the heart, the heart just pumps, right? It just pumps blood, but the kidneys filters the blood. It selects the stuff that needs to be maintained in the blood, and it selects the solutes that will need to be eliminated. And as a result, nakasalalay sa iya ang health sa ato ang blood. No? So kung dili na healthy ang blood, daghan na siya og poisonous stuff, daghan na siya og toxic stuff, mauna day nang magka-renal failure ang imong kidneys. If it stops working well, magka-renal failure na, and ma-maintain tong mga toxins na sa blood, mao na mag-dialysis na din ng mga people with kidney disease. Na, and that's very common among people with diabetes. And then after that, when the sufficient amount of urine is produced, it will travel through the ureters and into the bladder. Diri ni siya sa pantug. You know, a pantug. It will be stored. Urine will be stored in the bladder, urinary bladder, and then it will exit through the urethra. So manang if kanang naay times bitaw nga naay UTI ang usa ka person, naay ubang tao na ilahang i-push ang fundus or ang pantog sa tao, then makaihi din sila. Pero sakit ba kayo na kung naay UTI? So don't do that. Sakit kayo na siya. But you can do that, but with caution. So the excretory system eliminates non-solid wastes from the body. So it can be through the lungs, like carbon dioxide, kana siya. Your skin, through your sweat, pwede na siya, and kidneys. So lungs exhale carbon dioxide and water vapor, and sweat glands and skin release excess water and salts, and then kidneys filter and clean the blood to produce urine. So here are the basic functions of your kidneys. It removes waste from the blood. Mo na pinaka-importante dyan niya nga kuan na trabaho. And then, with this results to the maintenance of the electrolyte levels of your in your blood, and your pH, and also the balances of fluids, not only in your bloodstream but also in the rest of your body. And also it will release key hormones. Kana siya. And we'll look at the key hormones later. Ayan. So if the blood becomes too dilute, meaning na sobraan na siyang tubig, or too concentrated with solutes, meaning nakulangan na sa siyang tubig, then it can interfere with normal cellular activity. So kanang if masobraan kag tubig, of course mo ang imuhang cell mo swell. Okay? Mudako imong cell. So if mudako na siya pag-ayo, it could burst. Pwede na siya mahitabo, no? But if dili sad hing inom og tubig, mo dehydrate sa imong cells, mo shrivel sa siya, mo shrink and shrivel sa na siya. That's not healthy for the cell. It could lead to cell death. So the kidneys are able to concentration in the body, sorry, not in the body, but in the blood, by removing excess water if the blood is too dilute, or conserving water in the blood if it's not dilute enough. So siya ang mag-control. Si kidneys ang magtanaw nga, oy, dugo, murag nasubraan na kag tubig. Sige, anhi din come here, come here. I will filter and I will get the excess water out. Ina na siya. But if kuan gali na siya, if kulangan na sa tubig ang dugo, moingon ng kidney nga, ay dili lang sa ako mag-remove og tubig kay murag nakulangan ka. Ingnon nako si brain nga ipainom imong amo og dahang tubig kay para maka function tagtarong diri. So inana na siya, no. So na siya effect sa imuhang blood. and also effects sad sa inyong kidneys. So they are related to one another. So the two kidneys in the body receive about 1,100 to 2,000 liters of kini bitaw siya. Murag dili ni siya liters. This is ml by the way. Milliliters of blood per day. So, oh wait. No, no, no. This is what I was talking about. Erase. Dili din mo ako katong error din he. So sorry about that. Sakto ni siya. Ah, dili din ni mao nga page. Sorry. Naato yung error dili. I'll have to correct that later. So about the volume so it goes through a lot of blood in a day. So hardworking to get ng kidney. So that's why we have to take care of it. So because the body has only about 5.6 liters of blood, your blood runs to the kidneys to be cleaned about once every 4 minutes. So very hardworking jud siya. So mo na maingon sila kanang kung high blood run ka, like for example ako, you really have to control your blood pressure, because if you have very high blood pressure, this could damage your kidneys over time. uh Kay kung taas kay ang pressure paingon sa kidneys, ang kidneys nimo mag double time sad siya og work, no? So the higher the pressure, the high the kung taas kay ang pressure sa imong vessels, the volume of blood that is delivered to your kidneys would also be higher. So ang kidneys sa di mo murag ma-overwhelm sa siya, murag, "Uy, daghan na kay dugo." So mag-double time ko. Kadjut lang ana. So it's going to be overworked sad. So that is why we have to maintain our blood pressure. No, ako kay blood on man ko na paka person when I was still 18. I was 18 when I was diagnosed with hypertension type 1. Ana. Um I take amlodipine na 10 milligrams. So sa una 5 milligrams pa ni siya. Karon kay 10 milligrams na because I'm old. 10 milligrams, and then I have a heart regulator because I get anxiety all the time. So when you turn my age, kana mga 20s inyo, saka inyong mga anxiety, kana siya. You need to have a heart regulator. Hinayon niya ang beat sa imong heart, no, para dili ra kay ka magpanic. Because if paspasad ang beat sa imong heart, naasay tendency nga mo paspasad imong blood pressure. Thus making your kidneys work double time. So wala siya ang ato ang gina-prevent. So, by the way, there was something quite alarming na ako na-discover. There are like mas taas ang incidence karon sa hypertension observed in teenagers. Like there was a 14-year-old kid nga pag-check sa iyang blood pressure sa vaccination site. Her blood pressure was 160 over 120. That is very high. That's very high for a 14-year-old. So, yeah, 14. Can you believe 14 pa? And my niece, uh, my niece, she had palpitations, grabe yung palpitations, when she was still 13. Enana. And it was discovered, mga 15 na din yun siya, tas sa di yung blood pressure. Hadlo ka, ayaw mo nga generation, do. What's wrong with you? Sa'yo kay mo gakakuan, gaka-high bloodan. Ma'am, okay na ng 90/60 nga BP. Okay na siya at your age lang ga, and you are a female. If you are a female with that blood pressure and you are still a teenager, okay na siya. But if you are already in your 20s or if you are pregnant, dili na siya normal. That's too low. That's a very low. Kaya ka ng 60 nga diastolic pressure, that's very low. Very, very low. So, naakay tendency na nga, kung munaog pa dyan na siya mo na siyang 50. My God, you're gonna be close to death. So, before ka magpa-check og BP, you have to run. But that's dili na siya pwede. Dili siya valid. But itry gali ninyo ang dagan. There was one time when I used to work for, really work for, but I used to be a volunteer for Philippine Red Cross. There was one time nga naabitaw ka ng mandatory blood donation sa mga military men. And then there was this guy, there was this soldier nga iyang BP kay inana. Gamay kaayo like 90 over 60, and I was like, "Sir, kanang kailangan ako i-retake again ha." So, i-retake na ako. Hala dili jud siya again. Nagkuha ko lahi nga BP applicator. Nagkuha ko BP app again. Another BP nga sorry ka nang another tool una. Dili gyapon siya. It's still 90 over 60. And then I told him, "Sir, kanang dagan sa, okay, di ba kung soldier ka, mandatory, jud ka mag-donate. Like, kailangan jud ka mag-donate og blood. So, ipadagan sa nako siya sa whole area. Like, dagan sa, sir, dagan jud, tama sa ginawa. Na yun, pag-check na mo again, kay mura gihapon. Ako na, sir, pag-push up na ra, sir, pag-push up. Basta, ang ending ato kay, he did like a lot of sit-ups and push-ups and eventually, like, I think 2 hours later, nakuha na yung BP like 120 over 80 na din. Okay na siya. Okay na ni siya. So it was kind of alarming. Pero that is very common. Kaya mga low blood pressure for men, that is very common among men that are, and even women, that is very common, common among men and women who are very physically active. Kana bitong everyday exercise, everyday bike, everyday whatever. Basta everyday sila ga exercise. So murag masanay ilang heart no ana sa kanang exercise. And kasabot ko sa akong father when he says that when he doesn't exercise in one day maglain yang ginhawa because your heart has already been trained to kuan uh to be uh, to be in kanang normal na nga, dili normal pero low lang heartbeat range basta nag-exercise. Kay kung dili siya mag-exercise, ingon sa akong father, kung dili daw siya mag-exercise in one day, munaog pa jud iyang heartbeat, murag lain din iyang ginhawa, inana siya. So that's the effect of everyday exercise. So here are the waste products produced in your body. No, one of them is carbon dioxide. So you know this already. This is a waste product of cellular respiration. When we utilize sugar in the cells and then convert it to ATP, one of the waste products is carbon dioxide. And another is ammonia, which is removed through the water. Mao ni siya atong makita sa atong urine. Ammonia that is converted into urea. This is a less toxic version of ammonia that is being done by the liver. Siya ang mag-detoxify ana. So this waste comes from the cell's breakdown of old proteins. Remember, katong CHON, katong nitrogen, makikombine ni siya with uh, 3 hydrogen atoms sa atong lawas and then mahimo siyang ammonia. So it is also what makes bleach smell. So in high concentrations, it is poisonous to the cells and must be removed sa imuhang lawas. Ano siya. So once excreted into the bloodstream by cells, it is carried to the liver where it is converted from ammonia into urea, sa said ko ganina, which is much less toxic. And it is then carried from the liver to the kidneys where it is removed. And that is why your urine is color yellow. That is because of the urea. So here are your kidneys. The kidneys are a pair of bean-shaped organs. There are 2 layers to the kidneys. You have your medulla and your cortex. So this is your medulla right here. You cannot see it because my ink is color red. Okay, this is your medulla right here, kanisha, and then your cortex is right in the right in the kanang gawas kanang medyo outer layer ani niya no. Okay. So you have your filtering units called your nephrons, or this is basically your basic unit of your kidneys, your nephrons. Ma'am, Zac nephron, charot. And then naading kay renal vein and renal artery. Ayan. So you have these kanang structures, Diane. You have your glomerulus, which filters and cleans the blood. You have your Bowman's capsule. I'm gonna change my ink so first, ang blood nimo, it goes through the glomerulus where it will filter the blood. Start na filtration din ha. And then through the Bowman's capsule. So sa Bowman's capsule, the Bowman's capsule will hold the filtrates, atong mga stuff nga wala sa liquid, no? And molecules are reabsorbed into the capillaries to balance the blood chemically. So um and then it will get into the loop of Henle, just like this one. Naka-loop man ni siya. Wah! Ana siya. So, in the loop of Henry, the water is reabsorbed and mo ni siya ang time nga pagka-concentrate dayon sa imong urine, no? Ihan ang igawas ang katong mga dapat igawas. So, ihan ang o urine, mo na ni imong ipang kuan ha, ipang dala with you ha. Mo ni siya. Urea, check. Sugar, check. Protein, check. Then ha, ihan ang ipanggawas dun ha. And then, in the collecting ducts, uh, the collecting ducts, so pangalan pa lang no, collecting ducts, it will correct, sorry, collect urine from the nephrons and send it through the ureters. So, mo ni siya ang sequence ha. So, it starts off with your, dili sa kidneys. Kani siya, kini nga parts naman ni siya sa kidneys, kini sila. So it starts off in your renal vein and artery. So asa man mo sulod ang imuhang ko ano, asa mo sulod ang imuhang blood through the renal artery, it goes into there to the renal artery dan ha niya ikuan dara ang passageway and then moagi din siya ani ng mga uh, tubes, the glomerulus, the Bowman's capsule, the loop of Henle, and then the collecting ducts. Okay. So there are three steps to this. Sorry, so sorry about that. There are three steps. The first step is filtration, where water, electrolytes, amino acids, glucose, urea, and other small molecules diffuse out of the blood and it creates the filtrate. And this happens in your glomerulus. That's filtration. The second step is reabsorption. Reabsorption of material. So as the filtrate enters the rest of the tubule, most of the materials are reabsorbed into the blood. Materials not reabsorbed make up the urine, which flows into the loop of Henle. So this reabsorption happens in your Bowman's capsule. And then the third one is excretion, which majorly happens in the loop of Henle. So water can be reabsorbed in the loop of Henle one final time to reduce the volume of urine. The remaining urine flows into a collecting duct that leads to the ureters. Now, do you remember what I said to you about the small intestines? The reason why it is kanang gawain siya, then taas kay siya pero kanang koan na siya gawain na siya no. It is also found in these tubules. No, these are also found in your glomerulus, your Bowman's capsule, and then your loop of Henle. Gawain na siya. It's because it gives the opportunity for your kidneys to reabsorb what it needs to be reabsorbed. Mao na jud na siya. So mo nang taas siya nga proseso just in case na ay na-miss si kidneys. Nana. So again, the three steps are the following. You have your filtration, reabsorption, and excretion. So question, how long does it take for blood to pass through the kidneys? Kindly answer this question in the chat. How long, usually? How long does it take for blood to pass through the kidneys? The whole process. Agi siya sa renal artery, gikuan siya, gifilter siya, dayon reabsorb, dayon gi excrete. How long does it take? Anybody? Minutes lang, minutes. How many minutes? Guesses? Guess? Can we have a guess? In the chat box? Hello? Hello? Hello, anybody? Hala, ng laban na talinis sila ay. Stem 4. Uy, asa naman mo? 3 minutes, matod pa ni Lee. Okay? Any other answer? Question mark pa na ha? 3 minutes? 10 minutes? 20 minutes? Okay? Lower than that. Lower. Dapat ay 10 minutes. Okay? Wala na? Wala na yung mag-answer? Okay, we got a correct answer from Vince. It's actually 5 minutes now. It's approximately 5 minutes. So the whole process from pag-agi sa imong blood through the renal artery and then going through all of that stuff through the glomerulus, the Bowman's capsule, and the loop of Henle and the collecting ducts and everything else, that takes about 5 minutes. So it's very short. Very short. Okay. So thank you very much for your answers in chat box. And then these are some other factors that affect kidney function. Like number one, your antidiuretic hormone. So your antidiuretic, sa pangalan pa lang, no, antidiuretic. When you say anti, it means dili pwede, X. Diuretic meaning pag-ihi. Okay, pag-ihi nimo. So, kung imo na i-understand antidiuretic, kini siya nga hormone, kini sa ADH, dili kanya paihion ana. Or di mo siya dili paihion but kanang ginabuhat kay it prevents excess water loss from the kidney. So for example, if wala if dili kay kaga like for example nag-hiking mo nang naka mo bukid wala jud kay inom-inom og tubig di ba di makikakaihion inana nga situations wala kay kakainom og tubig mag pila na ka hours wala kay inom og tubig so your body will tell you oops your blood volume is very low. You haven't drank water in the last 6 hours. So I'm going to release antidiuretic hormone. And the antidiuretic hormone will tell your kidneys, oh, kidney, excuse me, kidney. Ano is kidney? Yes. That is antidiuretic hormone. Dili sa ta maggawas og tubig kayo ha. Ay sag pangihi ha. Ara rin si kidney. Fine na siya. Pero di na ko makuan, dili na ko ma-filter og tarong ang mga solutes. Pwede ka makaihi. You can pee, but in very small amounts, and you will know that you're very dehydrated is because the color of your pee is very concentrated. It's very yellow, or sometimes it's very orange. Kana siya. So that's the task of your antidiuretic hormone. Pero kung nasubraan na sad ka, sobraan na kag tubig na grabe yung inom mo og tubig, taas sa kay mong blood volume, dili inaog niya ang antidiuretic, ang imong brain inaog niya ang antidiuretic hormone levels sa imong blood. Inaog na niya para mangihi ka. Ana. And then alcohol. Alcohol inhibits the secretion of antidiuretic hormone. No? So, when that happens, i-analyze din mo, no, dili kayo masecrete ang antidiuretic hormone, so magka-ihi-ihi ka. That is basically the reason why when you drink alcohol, I don't know if you have tried it, but if you ever try to drink alcohol in the future, manotice mo makaihi ka. Makaihi ka even while you are drunk. And that is why if you go in the future, if ma-open na ang lifestyle district or kanang mga laaganan na to sa una sa Corales, daghan kaayo galinya sa CR ng mga hubog. Yeah, so that's why. Because alcohol, it makes you urinate. Mm. Aldosterone, this is also a hormone. It prevents excess loss of sodium and water from kidneys. So, ihang i-maintain. Darira mo. Darira ka sodium. Darira ka tubig. Okay? Ayos ag adto. Kay kuan, kanang, kung nakulangan ta og tubig, wala nag-inom atong amo og tubig for the last 6 hours. Inana. Caffeine is a diuretic. no? Caffeine is the diuretic. So, ang caffeine nimo, anything that contains caffeine, like your coffee and your tea, kana siya makaihi jud mo afterwards. Mm. Makaihi. It increases the rate of salt and water loss from kidneys. That's what it does. And increased blood pressure. If taas imong blood pressure, as I've said kaganina, it increases the rate of water loss from your kidneys because uh, taas man kayo ang pressure, so paspas ang pag di man jud paspas per kusog ang pressure going towards the kidneys, and ang kidneys sad kay, oh my god, daghan kaka-pressure ko sa inyo, kaka-pressure ko blood, okay wait lang ana siya, so kapaspas sad siya og ano, go og do sa iyang job, the whole job katong tulo ka processes. So that's what it does. So these are the things that affect our kidney function. So it is very important that uh, I know that there are a lot of you that drink coffee na na at a very young age. So hinahinay lang sa ta, ha? Oh, relax, relax that sa coffee. Okay, so what major hormone affects water balance in our bodies? So please answer in the chat box. And what are the effects of it when there's too little or too much water? So, what's the major hormone? Let's start with the first question. What's the major hormone that affects water balance in our bodies? So, yung pangalan ato? Please answer in the chat. I'm so sorry. Itchy kay akong ear. So, I've been like scratching it for the last few minutes. I'm sorry about that. Yeah? Anybody? ADH? Usa kay pasabot sa ADH? What does that mean? Oh, sorry. Okay. That is the antidiuretic hormone, ADH, or antidiuretic hormone. So if there's a what will happen if nakainom kag daghang tubig, there is more water. Unsa man ang ADH? Is it ipasaka og ang ADH or ipanaog? Unsay buhaton sa imong lawas? If there's too much water. Mato ni Lee, if there's too much water kuno daw i-lower daw niya ang ADH. That's correct. Okay, yan ang i-lower. Ano siya, there's too much water, and ang brain, too much water, we need to get it out. We need to get this excess water out. Get it out. So, ang antidiuretic hormone, because it retains water, iyang ipanaog na ang levels na. So, manang ipanaog niya para ma-excrete ang excess water. If there's too much, or if there's not too much, sorry, if there's less water, you haven't drank water for the last 6 hours, inana, then ipasaka niya ang antidiuretic hormone kay para ma-save niya ang water, no? Dili siya dali ma-dehydrate. So, thank you very much. Correct si Lino. Congratulations. Thank you very much to those who answered antidiuretic hormone in the chat box. So, that is the relationship between the two of them. So, this is when good organs go bad, no? If you can see here, mo ni siyang normal nga kidney. Yay, how cute. And then this is the kidney that's not healthy anymore. As you can see here, naashay ka ng part na kanang murag walay blood circulation nagkakahappen. This is basically what I said. Walay blood circulation dinhi nga part sa imong kidney. So, it's partially destroyed ang imong kidneys, no? So, it has lost blood flow to this part. So, maybe it depends sa assessment sa doctor if it is like, ano kanang, unsa nga level of kidney failure ni siya. It may be just, this is not acute. I'm sure this is not acute kidney failure. This is chronic kidney failure, pero ano na, to what degree naaman na siya mga degrees ana niya no. So inana, so oh my god, yung tingog akong cellphone. Nakulatan ko. Okay, so inana na siya no, if naa na gali part sa kidney nga wala na blood circulation, naa na damage, like there's irreparable damage na jud. So dili na mapi-filter og tarong imuhang blood ana. So naanay times nga pwede na ni siya i-dialysis. So you know this dialysis already? So basically ang dialysis kay um the procedure is na kay patient then naana siya himuan na siya fistula, basically kanang opening, dili mo gud siya pwede nga kanang sa cute lang nga vein like diri sa kamot or diri sa wrist, dili. It needs to be like a central vein. So dako siya nga vein, pwede siya dinhi, pwede sa arm, pwede sa siya dinhi sa neck kaning jugular, pwede sa na siya dinha no. So ang ginabuhat actually sa dialysis is gina take out niya ang blood sa mong lawas, take out niya, then diri sa dialysis unit na i-dialysate na ang dialysate will act like your kidneys, it will filter your blood. So filter, balik na siya filter, then out it goes back into the body of the person, inana. So basically your dialysis unit is like your kidneys, no, they are the external kidneys. So yeah, mahal bang dialysis, no? So please take care of your health. Do not abuse alcohol. Do not abuse kanang mga toxic kay na mga stuff. Usually akong mga kitaan sa hospital, aside from like diabetic patients, is a lot of them have kidney failures because of alcohol abuse. That's really it. So you have to be very careful with your alcohol intake. Okay? Careful lang mo, ana. Okay, so that is all for the excretory system. Are there any questions? Okay. Makita ninyo ang skeleton? Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay, grape. Just kidding. Okay, ala ka. Nagpanic na sa akong laptop. It's panicking again. Okay. Let's go to your digestive muna. Okay. So that's the views. Okay, let's go here. In the upper digestive system, you have, of course, your mouth, no? Your teeth, and then your mouth. Then, adding kay kining mga salivary glands. You have your submandibular salivary glands. These release your saliva, of course. Very important. Yan. Then you have your, oops, not the mandible. Your sublingual meaning ilawom sa dila. Kana siya, sublingual. So, submandibular na dinhi. This is the mandible. Kini siya nga bone. So, kung sub gani, nasa ilawom. Oh, kana siya. This is the mandible. So, ilaw man na niya is the submandibular. Ayan. So, these are your salivary glands that are essential in releasing your saliva. And then, diri dayon sa ubos will be your passageway sa imuhang food. Pwede mo na ko mag-zoom out. Pwede ko nag-zoom out. Ayan. So, this is your oropharynx, your laryngopharynx. Then, ang larynx din, paingon din na sa inyong, sa inyong respiratory system. Okay? So, that's your thyroid gland. And this one will be your esophagus, highlighted in blue. Yan. So, as I said, katong yesterday, no, likod sa imuhang trachea ang imuhang esophagus. So, mo na pag-stab di mo din sa throat, magkuhan din na sila. Ang affected na nila will be their airway. So, let's go to the lower digestive system. PAC. So, sa imong lower digestive system, na kay, of course, Diri ta sa liyo ha para din yung ayan. Lower digestive system nimo. So from your esophagus, diri ta sa likod para makita ninyo. Sa esophagus ninyo, this is your esophagus right here. It goes into your stomach, right? Then naakay pyloric sphincter din ha sa kuan. Ayan, galisod ko ani. Ayan. This is your stomach, and then your stomach will then be connected to your duodenum. So nadiri ang duodenum right here. So ato ta sa likod, mo na iyahang passageway. Chuk. And the winding road of the small intestines right here. Yan. So this is the duodenum, and then this will be your ileum and your jejunum. Then your accessory organs. This is your pancreas right here. That's right behind your stomach. Kana siya. Mao ni siya ang mag-release sa imong enzymes no that will further digest or extract your your what you call this, the from the carbs, your glucose and your simple sugars. From your proteins will be your amino acids, and then your fats will be your fatty acids. Kana siya. And then again, this is your liver right here with lobes, and then right behind the liver would be your gallbladder. See? So si liver ang mag-produce sa imuhang bile, and then your gallbladder will be the one to store that bile. Just write this one. And then, anita diri sa front, we have your large intestines. This is your appendix, by the way. Mo ni siya ang kanang cause sa kanang bitong appendicitis ninyong sakit ka ay extreme right lower sided pains yung abdomen. So, mo na siya. Nice lagi kayo na application. Yes, nice kay siyang application pero grabe kay siya gaka-stress out akong laptop sa iyaha. Oh, it's very lag. Di man siya lag sa ako nga part, but I think because kay ga-share man ta og ga-share mo kog screen sa iyo mo nang galag siya. If you're going to look at your Google Play or your Apple iTunes, ay iTunes ba na? Unsa na Apple Store, App Store? Oh, kana siya. This application is not for free. Medyo mahal siya. I got a crack version. This is a crack version, but the crack version is stressing my laptop out. Ako laptop kay gaana jud siya. What's the purpose of appendix? The purpose of your appendix, usually it really usually, but mo nang gaka appendicitis guys because dili man good usually galaag imong bacteria. And the appendix will be the one that will fight sort of that bacteria. So kung ma-overwhelm na siya og a lot of bacteria, it will inflame. It will get inflamed and pwede siyang buto. So, grabe ka siya ka-nonsense. Actually, you can live without it. You can live. Grabe siya ka-nonsense. But it helps us in fighting infections. Mo na ang purpose ni appendix. Okay, we have your ascending colon, your transverse colon. Na-cover mo siya sa small intestines. Your omentum, omem, omem, omentum, your transverse colon, kini siya kining, ako na lang siya i-point ha, kini siya, kining ga crossover, and then mo din mong descending colon. Then, you have your rectum right here, and this is your anus, your anal canal. Okay. There are many planets in the solar system. One of them is Uranus. Again. So this is rectum and then your anus or the anal canal. So that is your digestive system. Complex. Many organs sad na siya. Ayan. Chuk. Ayan. I'll talk about the kuan. Kanang iyang kanang iyang mga arteries and veins, my God, complicated kaayo. And this is also a closer view of your descending colon, the sigmoid, and then your rectum, and then your anal canal. So, nadiri imuhang koan, kaning your involuntary sphincter, kini siya diri dapita, and this will be your, let me draw. Let me draw. This will be your, hey, let me draw ba? Di ko niya pa-draw. This will be your involuntary, naadanhay mo involuntary sphincter, and this one will be, Lila Pita would be your voluntary sphincter. Ayan. If you're wondering what these are, Kinisha, this is your bladder. We'll talk about the bladder later. Okay. And then you have your accessory organs. As I said kanina, this is your liver right here. Produces your bile, does a lot of things, emulsifies fats, detoxifies stuff, does a lot of things, really. Very overworked. And then you have your gallbladder right behind it. It stores the bile. And then this is your pancreas. It releases the enzymes that are responsible in digesting your food. And then, dali na sila mga release diri sa duodenum dapit. Ana. Then let's go to your urinary system. Pak! This is your urinary urinary system. You have your appendix. Ay, appendix. Sorry. Kidneys. So mo na kung nasa sa hawakan dapit, no? So mo na kung kuan gali, kung sakit mong hawak, mag-suspect na jud ka. Kanang dili lang kanang once na siya nagsakit. Dili na na. Pero kada bitong like pirmi na lang. Pirmi na lang siya magsakit. And usually magsakit siya kung like kanang you drink coke, you drink juices, alcohol na na. Sakit mong hawak. Oh, so pag suspect na ana. And then these are your ureters right here, which are connected to your bladder. And then ay, sa lalaki ba ini? Oh. Then it goes out into your, for the men, to your penis. For the women, goes out into your, in the pee hole, your urethra. Yeah. So let's look at some other views. This is your kidneys. Okay. You have your medulla and cortex na adiri. Medulla and cortex, these are mga pyramids of the kidneys. And then this will be your renal pelvis. Dara ang dara mo kuan at diri sa body of the kidneys mahitabo tong filtration, reabsorption, excretion, and the urine will be transported through the renal pelvis. Diri sa siya diri sa mag-connect ang ihang kuano, renal arteries and veins, and then down into the ureters. This will be your bladder, stores your urine connected to your ureters. Then this one will be connected to your urethra dion. The men will have a longer urethra than women. And that is why women are more susceptible to, we are more susceptible to UTI. Kay shorter man atong kuan ang ato ang agianan, no? So for the women, mo siya, ang atong ovaries is right behind, ay ovaries, atong uterus is right behind the bladder. Oh. So mao nang kada bitong kung pregnant bitaw mo, kung maburos bitaw mo, ayaw sa karon kay bata pa kay mo, no? But in the future when you get pregnant, di ba diri man ang baby sa uterus, mudako na siya mudako, it will push against your bladder. Mao nang kanang daghan kayo mga pregnant women nga sige ihi-ihi, no? Kay gina-push man ni baby ang imuhang bladder. So, mogamay ang space sa imong bladder. Labi na kung mulihok na ang baby, my God. Makaihi jud ang mama. Oo. So, mo na siya, no? Ang inyong ovary and your bladder. Ay, ovary. Uterus. What's wrong with me? Uterus and your bladder. And, yeah, that's it. Do we have media for here? I don't think we do. It's just for muscles. Because this is the old version, so I don't have all of the media. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So that is all. That is for our gross anatomy. Yeah. So I'm gonna stop this kay Ga-struggle na akong kuan, akong laptop. I'm gonna stop sharing this. So I hope you learned something about your body today. I hope that you know the locations of your organs, no? So that is on gross anatomy. So that dili na ta magkadaver-kadaver. Dili na ta mangita og patay nga lawas para tan-awon ninyo mas stress out lang mo. Charot. So that is it for this morning. Tomorrow we will proceed to the reproductive system. As I've said kaganina, no, maybe we will begin at 8:30 tomorrow because I have to go to the office. So maybe at 8:30 or basta prepare lang mo. Pwede sad 8, pwede sad 8:30, either of those times. So if dili na tumahuman ang the whole reproductive system tomorrow, you can just read through the PDF file that I have provided for you. Kaya naada to tanan ang akong i-discuss, no? Okay? So that will be all. Are there any questions? Nan, promise? Si Joseph akong kastorya. Okay, so none ha, bantay lang mo. All right, so that will be all. Wow, we ended kanang before 10 a.m. I'm so happy for us all, charot. Okay, so that will be all for this morning. Thank you very much for coming to our synchronous session. If you have classmates na wala karon, you can just tell them to watch the recording. I will post the recording right after. Google will be done rendering the video. All right. So I'll post the link to that in our Google Classroom. All right. So that will be all. Thank you very much. And I'll see you again tomorrow. I'll be posting 2 quizzes. You don't have to answer both of them right away. You can answer one of them today and another one tomorrow. Okay. So that will be all. Thank you very much. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Goodbye, STEM 4, and have a good day.
Bye,
Bye,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.